Xiao outsmarts Zhao Qingshan to obtain a fusion pill, but it's a deadly trap that causes his breakthrough to spiral into a near-fatal catastrophe. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to keep creating. Medicine pill. Zhao Qingshan frowned slightly as his thoughts started to stir. Looking at Xiaoyan's fox-like smile, Zhao Qingshan's heart suddenly skipped a beat. After a long while, he hesitated and said, "Little friend, just say it. As a 5th-grade Emperor Pill Master, I have no problem with some medicine pills." Then, without waiting for Xiaoyan to speak, he said, "Little friend, do you only have 2 drops of flaming spirit blood?" His voice was clearly filled with doubt and disbelief. Xiaoyan chuckled and shook his head. "Senior Xiao," he said, shaking his head, "there were only 2 drops. This junior risked his life to enter the wolf's den. There is actually a child with crimson fire flame wolf in the wolf's den. Junior is not strong enough. He had to put his life on the line and use all his trump cards to kill the little wolf. Furthermore, the temperature in the cave was extremely high. With this junior's strength, he wouldn't be able to stay for long. These 2 drops were obtained by chance." These half-truths and half-truths were extremely logical now. When he recalled the sudden, crazy actions of the Crimson Fire Flame Wolf just now, it was really possible that the Crimson Fire Flame Wolf had sensed the appearance of the child after his death. Zhao Qingshan had no choice but to believe it. "What you said makes some sense. Fine, 2 drops it is. Tell me, what medicine pill do you want? If these 2 drops of fire spirit blood were to be auctioned in the auction house, how much would it be worth?" Xiaoyan stared into Zhao Qingshan's eyes and suddenly asked an irrelevant question. Zhao Qingshan was startled for a moment, then his eyes lit up and said, "If they were to be auctioned in the auction house, 1 drop should be around 100,000 monarch crystals. If it is used to exchange for medicine pills, it should be able to exchange for 1 low-grade 4 medicine pill." Low-grade 4. Xiaoyan saw the fleeting light in Zhao Qingshan's eyes. He made a small fuss in his heart and then pretended to be unwilling. Zhao Qingshan saw his expression and also pretended to say, "Although the fiery spiritual blood is a heavenly materials and earthly treasure that can only be condensed by a drop of monarch emperor-level heavenly beast in 100 years, it can only be used to refine some special Tier 5 emperor pills. Each set requires 3 drops, but you only have 2 drops. Therefore, its value was greatly reduced. If there were 3 drops, then you can definitely exchange it for a high-grade 4th-grade medicine pill or even a low-grade 5th-grade medicine pill." Xiaoyan nodded after hearing this, but he still sighed and said, "Senior's words make sense. But this junior only has 2 drops." Zhao Qingshan's eyes widened. Initially, he wanted to trick this brat. He didn't expect this kid to have such a tough mouth. He had been in the Crimson Fire Flame Wolf's cave for such a long time. How could he possibly believe that he had only gotten 2 drops of fiery spirit blood? "Little friend, do you want to exchange the fire spirit blood for the monarch crystal? If you are willing, little friend, I am willing to exchange it for 1 drop of fiery spirit blood for 150,000 monarch crystals." Zhao Qingshan put the fire pillar into the storage ring and said with a smile. Xiaoyan only smiled when he heard this. Although the monarch crystal was also one of the requirements of the holy rank trial, his current strength was still too weak. Secondly, he didn't know how long it would take for him to leave this vast forest domain. Therefore, he didn't really need the monarch crystal. On the contrary, his current strength was what he desperately needed to improve. "The monarch crystal is currently useless to me. I would like to exchange a drop of fiery spirit blood for an elementary grade 4 fusion pill." Xiaoyan looked at Zhao Qingshan and said with a bright smile. He had already reached the early 9 stars fighting monarch, and now he was about to break through to the sovereign realm. However, it was not easy to advance to the sovereign realm. The possibility of failure was extremely high. The fusion pill as a low-grade 4 medicine pill was something that those who were about to advance to the sovereign realm could only dream of. Ordinary fighting monarchies would encounter the first bottleneck in their lives after advancing to the peak of the 9 stars realm. Only by breaking through the bottleneck would they be able to continue pursuing the strength of the boundless realm. However, some of the fighting monarchies were obstructed for a long time at this step, causing them to miss out on the best time to cultivate. In the future, the growth of their strength would be extremely slow, and they would eventually become mediocre for the rest of their lives. This was because the most important step for a 9-star Dao Di to advance into an emperor warrior was to gather the scattered and floating origin monarch chi within his body and condense them into a chain-like origin monarch chi. Once the origin monarch chi was successfully condensed, he would be able to advance into an emperor warrior, a Di Shi and a peak 9-star fighting monarch. Although the origin monarch chi within one's body was almost the same, the difference in strength was very great. A single Di Shi was enough to easily defeat 3 to 4 peak 9-star fighting monarchies. This was because a Di Chi chain formed by a Dai Shi was like a soldier that had received elite training. The origin monarch chi within the fighting monarch was at most some scattered soldiers. The difference between the two could be seen with a single glance, but there was a huge risk of becoming a sovereign. A slight carelessness could lead to failure. If the failure was light, the origin monarch chi in the fighting monarch would disappear completely. If he recuperated for a few months and attacked again, the origin monarch crystal would be seriously injured. From then on, he would not be able to cultivate. Xiao couldn't bear these two consequences. He was walking in the dangerous forest domain, and it was too late for him to increase his strength. How could he possibly do something that could cause his strength to be greatly reduced? Because of various reasons. The possibility of fighting monarch of lower realm becoming a sovereign was much higher than that of the original residents. Xiao was even confident that he could reach 70 to 80% with his foundation. However, the remaining 20 to 30% chance of failure was always around Xiao. What he needed was a 100% chance of success. He could not afford to make any mistakes when he became a sovereign. This was also the problem that Xiao had been thinking about this day. Zhao Qingshan's appearance just happened to solve his urgent need. Fusion pill. Zhao Qingshan nodded. Just as he was about to speak, he suddenly saw the playful expression on Xiao face. He was startled at first, then his expression instantly darkened. No wonder he felt that he was being led away by the former earlier. It turned out that he was actually being led away by the former. This fellow's original intention was not the information of the fusion pill, but the fusion pill. When he first saw Xiao he could clearly sense Xiao strength. He was very close to breaking through to the sovereign warrior realm. Therefore, he had vaguely guessed that the latter might need some help in breaking through to the sovereign warrior realm. He had originally planned to use 2 drops. He even exchanged 3 drops of fire spirit blood with Xiao, but Xiao used 1 drop of fire spirit blood to exchange for information on how to concoct pills. This made Zhao Qingshan very excited. Without saying another word, he exchanged with Xiao. He knew that Xiao wanted to see the grade of the fusion pill, and then asked about the value of 1 drop of fire spirit blood. He thought that Xiao was going to exchange for another monarch crystal, so he pressed the price to around 100,000. He didn't say anything about the value of the medicine pill, but gave a very reasonable price. He didn't expect that this little fellow would directly exchange a drop of fire spirit blood for a fusion pill. Now he had already said what he wanted to say. He couldn't just casually increase the price. "Little Baldy, you have such a deep mind," Zhao Qingshan mumbled with a dark face. This time, even if he wanted to cheat, he wouldn't be able to. He had lived for hundreds of years. He had been tricked by this brat once. When he thought of this, killing intent appeared in Zhao Qingshan's eyes, but it only lasted for a moment before disappearing. He let out a light sigh and thought to himself, although I didn't gain much from it. However, it was his own fortune to exchange the information of the fusion pill for the blood. Moreover, it wasn't a loss for him to exchange a drop of the blood for the fusion pill. However, no matter what, he had to make the little baldy pay the price for making fun of him. Zhao Qingshan looked at Xiao and revealed a cold smile that no one noticed. "You want the polymerized bomb, right? Then I'll give it to you." However, the energy contained in this fusion pill was extremely powerful, if he could survive. However, there is only a 20% success rate. Would you be lucky enough to encounter it? If you fail, hey, not even a corpse was left. With this thought in mind, Zhao Qingshan smiled and said, "Sai, I'm really old now. Since you have already calculated everything, it seems like I can't go back on my word. Haha, I'll give you a list." After saying that, he stroked the storage ring with his finger. A medicine pill with a faint glow instantly stopped in front of Xiaoyan. Xiaoyan grabbed it and looked at the fusion pill that was lying quietly in his hand. This was the first time he had seen a medicine pill in a great world. The medicine pill contained a faint light. It was the size of a longan and felt extremely smooth to the touch. There was a faint fragrance coming from it, causing the origin monarch qi in Xiaoyan's body to churn. Compared to the fusion pill image in his mind, it was really no different from a fusion pill. Xiaoyan calmed his heart and quietly sighed. At the same time, his hand that was holding the fusion pill trembled slightly. A flame that no one noticed quietly wrapped around the fusion pill and purified the impurities on it. This was related to his advancement to the sovereign warrior realm, so Xiaoyan did not dare to be careless. His finger touched the storage ring and a red light flashed. A fire pillar appeared in Xiaoyan's hand and thanked Zhao Qingshan. Xiaoyan pushed the pillar of fire towards the latter. Zhao Qingshan waved his sleeve and kept the pillar of fire into his storage ring. He chuckled and said, "Since the deal is a success, I won't stay any longer. Little friend, we will part ways here. We shall meet again if fate permits." Zhao Qingshan let out a hearty laugh and stomped his feet on the ground. His body soared into the sky, and after he flew into the air, he quickly flew to the west and soon disappeared. After Zhao Qingshan left, Xiaoyan also entered the woods beside him. This place was no longer as lively as before. It became quiet again. Running on the small road, Xiaoyan was still excited about what happened 3 days ago. With the fusion pill, the success rate of breaking through to the sovereign realm was 100%. I need to reach the peak of the 9 stars in a short period of time. After becoming a sovereign, the true journey of the great world. This can be considered the true beginning. Xiaoyan sat on a huge tree, passing through the dense branches and leaves. He looked at the setting sun, which was slowly setting in the horizon. The setting sun was like blood. The surrounding scenery was illuminated by the red sun and the myriad of sunset clouds. In the distance, the occasional roar of a beast that resounded through the heavens, and the earth resounded. It was a sign that there was still a fatal danger beneath this peaceful scene. "Ellie!" A sharp and clear sound rang out. Following that, a black shadow streaked across the sky and ruthlessly smashed into an ancient tree. The ancient tree swayed and some leaves fell down. The black shadow also powerlessly fell to the ground. Not long after, Xiaoyan flapped his heavenly phoenix wings and arrived in front of the ancient tree. He looked at the unconscious black feathered crow and lightly exhaled. He wiped away the blood on his arm and slowly landed on the ground. Looking at the ancient tree in front of him, Xiaoyan took a deep breath. The origin monarch qi in his body crazily surged and gathered in his right fist. Then, with a light shout, his fist, which was wrapped by a thick origin monarch qi, smashed towards the ancient tree without any fancy moves. A crisp, cracking sound suddenly rang out and wood splinters flew in all directions. Feeling the pain coming from his fist, Xiaoyan could not help but grimace in pain. He waved his hand and looked at the part where his fist hit. Surprisingly, there was a fist-sized hole the size of a head. As expected, my strength has increased a lot. Without using the Sky Spill fist, I can punch a hole in the ancient tree. Thinking back to when he had just arrived in the great world, using the Flame Dragon Rush could only slightly scorch an ancient tree. But now, the power of an ordinary punch was more than several times stronger than when he had used the Flame Dragon Rush. Nodding his head in satisfaction, Xiaoyan once again felt the origin monarch qi flowing within his body. It was like a rushing river, as if he couldn't control himself. During this half a month, my strength has increased rapidly with the help of the intimidating qi. My strength has already reached the middle stage of the 9 stars realm, and I'm only half a step away from the late stage of the 9 stars realm. But if I want to reach the peak of the 9 stars realm, I'll need at least 2 months. Sighing lightly, Xiao leaned against the ancient tree and sat down. Sitting on the ground filled with fallen leaves, Xiao looked at the sky that was covered by yellow leaves. He mumbled, "It's late autumn again, the cycle of 4 seasons." Time flew by. It has been more than a year. He flicked his finger. After pondering for a moment, Xiao mind moved. The chaos great monarch flame appeared around his body. After that, Xiao was not worried. His mind slightly sank and a ray of light entered his mind. This ray of light was the information Xiao exchanged with Zhao Qingshan using a drop of the fiery spiritual blood. During this period of time, Xiao had been looking at it from time to time, and he gradually had a rough understanding of the alchemy system of the great world. The initial title of alchemist was Little Alchemist, and what he refined was not edible medicine pills. It was the medicinal liquid which had the same effect as the bone spiritual liquid Xiao had refined before. As for the process of concocting the medicinal liquid, it was also the first step for apprentice alchemists to grasp the flame and familiarize themselves with the medicinal ingredients. This step was the most important step for early-stage apprentice alchemists. Thus, in the early stages, the guidance of a Grandmaster apothecary was indispensable. Seeing this, Xiao could not help but laugh bitterly. He was in the boundless forest domain, and besides devil beasts, there were also spirit beasts by his side. When he went there, he would seek guidance from a great alchemist, not to mention the information he received. One of the 4 essential factors to becoming an alchemist was an extremely strong cultivation talent. The cultivation talent mentioned here was that one could quickly refine origin monarch qis. It would allow the origin monarch qis in his body to be filled to the brim. This would ensure that there would be sufficient medicine pills to be used to squander when refining origin monarch qis. This required a profound cultivation method, even though Xiao was confident in his own talent. Hong Long. In the alchemy of a large world, the final step of forming an origin monarch qi required a large amount of origin monarch qi to be injected into the medicine pill to maintain its medicinal effect. However, in the process of concocting the origin monarch qi, alchemists would also need to consume a large amount of origin monarch qi. If the cultivation technique was too weak and the origin monarch qi could not continue until the final step, the medicine pill refined would be wasted. Xiao mind withdrew from the light. He rubbed his aching head. As in the great world. Moreover, even if these could be solved, the most important part of the soul transformation was that it was difficult to solve it. From the information in the light, he knew that the soul energy of a great world was at least at the sovereign realm, even though all the fighting monarch of lower realm souls were also at the sovereign realm. It was the same as the souls of the original inhabitants of a great world who could not become alchemists. As for the soul of a true alchemist, even though it was also a sovereign realm soul, the soul of a true sovereign realm was the soul of a true sovereign realm. In the great world, only a true monarch stage soul could control all kinds of flames. After all, an ordinary emperor pill possessed strength that far exceeded a Do Sheng in the lower realm. The lowest grade medicine pill in a large world was an emperor pill. Hence, only a true monarch stage soul that was higher than a Dai soul in the lower realm could suppress an emperor pill or even a higher grade medicine pill. However, transforming a fake Dai soul into a true monarch stage soul was extremely difficult. It was not something that could be done independently. It required the help of a powerful alchemist in order to have a slight chance of success. In this process, if one wasn't careful, one's soul might be destroyed. This was also the biggest headache for Xiao. It was extremely difficult for the original residents to transform the soul of a false sovereign into a true monarch, stage soul. Not to mention the fighting monarch of lower realm. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was extremely difficult to turn the soul of a false sovereign into a true monarch stage soul. Standing up, Xiao shook his head and threw these worries to the back of his mind. It was still too early to think about these things. His current goal was to advance to the sovereign realm. At that time, he would have to take things one step at a time. When the season where the leaves danced passed and the forest domain was covered in a layer of silver, Xiaoyan stood on a cliff and looked into the distance. The endless forest was covered with snow, and it was a vast expanse of white. Xiaoyan took a breath of the cold air, and he could not help but feel much more open-minded. A day ago, he had finally advanced to the peak of the 9 stars realm. Next, he needed to consume the fusion pill. It was time for him to become a sovereign. Xiaoyan took out a jade box from his interspatial storage ring. Before he could open it, a faint pill fragrance wafted into his nose. As soon as the pill fragrance spread out, Xiaoyan felt the origin monarch qi in his body become active. He suppressed his excitement and opened the jade box. A round medicine pill the size of a long gun was lying quietly within. Fusion pill, a low-grade 4 medicine pill. If a trace of the pill fragrance is brought into fighting qi continent, I'm afraid it will instantly increase by countless fighting qi continents. Xiaoyan smiled. He took out the fusion pill and took a look at it. Finally, he took a deep breath and put the fusion pill into his mouth. After that, he immediately sat down cross-legged and formed a hand seal to cultivate. He circulated the surging origin monarch qi in his body and started circulating it along the burning spell path. Very quickly, under the influence of the origin monarch kiss in his body, the origin monarch qis in the outside world began to circulate. They all flowed into Xiaoyan's body at the center. Sensing the changes in the outside world, Xiaoyan no longer hesitated. He injected a wisp of origin monarch qi into the fusion pill in his mouth. The fusion pill instantly turned into a liquid that contained some bitterness and was swallowed by Xiaoyan. As soon as the fusion pill's medicinal liquid entered his body, Xiaoyan immediately felt that the circulation of the origin monarch qi in his body had increased by several times, and the time it took to circulate one cycle had also been greatly shortened. At the same time, it also caused the origin monarch qi in the outside world to circulate crazily. Sensing that the origin monarch qi that was injected with the origin monarch crystal was getting thicker and thicker, Xiaoyan couldn't help but feel wild joy in his heart. The fusion pill was indeed worthy of being the medicine pill that provided the greatest help to one's advancement to the sovereign warrior realm. At this rate, in just an hour, he would be able to reach the requirement of condensing the origin monarch qi. Under the influence of the fusion pill liquid, the Xiaoyans around Xiaoyan's body became denser and denser. It formed a gust of wind, causing the surrounding snow to melt away. Xiaoyan was even wrapped up by the thick origin monarch qis, and the thick origin monarch qis even stuck together. They formed droplets of rain that fell to the ground. Within his body, under Xiaoyan's inner sight, waves of extremely pure origin monarch qis crazily poured into the origin monarch crystal, and they were slowly compressed and solidified within the origin monarch crystal. In just a moment, the embryonic form of a thumb-thick origin monarch qi chain was outlined. At the same time, Xiaoyan suddenly felt as if he had broken through a layer of membrane. His mind and soul had risen to a new height. The world in front of him seemed to have become clearer. Very quickly, the chains made of origin monarch qis gradually solidified. Under the medicinal strength of the fusion pill, they transformed into a crystal clear and translucent chain. After that, the chain began to move. It was as if there was a metal clanging sound echoing within his body. The chain was continuously replenished by the origin monarch qi, and it gradually grew longer. An hour later, under Xiaoyan's surprised gaze, the chains extended to all the meridians in his body, forming an origin chains that ran through all the limbs and bones in his body. The moment the origin chains took shape, the remaining Xiaoyans in Xiaoyan's body suddenly shook. They no longer poured into the origin monarch crystal, but into the origin chains. At the same time, Xiaoyan's aura also increased dramatically. The strong airflow caused the surrounding blizzard to retreat. A sovereign. And that's not right. Xiaoyan, who was in ecstasy, suddenly changed his expression. Logically speaking, after using the fusion pill to advance to the sovereign realm, the fusion pill would immediately dissipate, and the original origin monarch qi in his body would slowly nurture the origin chains. However, in his body, there was still more than half of the medicinal liquid formed from the fusion pill. Not only did it not show any signs of dissipating, but it also circulated even faster. In just a few short breaths, a large amount of origin monarch cheese were injected into the origin chains. It caused the originally thin thumb-sized chains to grow to the thickness of an arm, and the newly formed chains were extremely fragile. It required origin monarch cheese to be slowly nourished. However, under the effect of the fusion pill liquid, waves of origin monarch chi crazily poured into the origin chains, causing several tiny cracks to appear on the originally sparkling and jade-like chain. When these cracks appeared, Xiao immediately felt a sense of weakness in his body. At the same time, he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Cough! Cough! After spitting out a mouthful of blood, Xiao face turned as pale as a sheet of paper. He could feel the tearing pain in his body and couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. As the origin chains had penetrated all the meridians in his body, the huge pain was like his meridians were broken. Xiao pale face quickly turned red again, and large drops of sweat fell down from his forehead. What is going on? Xiao clenched his teeth tightly and forcefully endured the heart-piercing pain. When he looked inside his body, it seemed as if the fusion pill liquid hadn't been reduced in the slightest. Every time the fusion pill liquid flowed, a large amount of origin chains would be injected into his body, and every batch of origin monarch cheese would be injected into his body. The sound of metal cracking could be heard within the origin chains, and it could be clearly heard from all parts of his body. Xianxia, you old dog, you lied to me. Xiao eyes turned red because of the immense pain. His body trembled uncontrollably. The origin chains in his body finally couldn't withstand the endless supply of origin monarch cheese. Under Xiao despairing gaze, it shattered with a loud bang. After that, the majestic origin monarch cheese flowed through the origin chains into all of Xiao meridians. In just a moment, all of his meridians were filled. Xiao burning spell grade was too low. He simply had no time to absorb so many origin monarch cheese. After that, the origin monarch cheese continued to enter his meridians, which had reached the limit. In just a short while, Xiao body began to swell rapidly, and the thick meridians in his body became clear. It could be seen that Xiao let out a painful groan. His eyes turned red, and the blood in his body flowed backwards. As his body swelled up, his skin suddenly split open and a stream of blood shot out. The shocking blood instantly dyed the vast snow red. Following that, streams of blood shot out one after another, and in just a moment, Xiao had become a bloody man. However, the origin monarch chi contained in his meridians didn't reduce in the slightest. The speed at which the fusion pill liquid in his body absorbed the origin monarch chi didn't slow down in the slightest. A large amount of origin monarch keys surged into the origin monarch crystal, condensing into an origin chains within it. In the next moment, the origin chains was shattered by the flood of origin monarch keys. Every time an origin chains was shattered, Xiao felt a burst of intense pain in his body, as well as the loss of blood in his body. Xiao finally could not hold on any longer. The images in front of him overlapped. It was a vast expanse of white, and then it suddenly turned black. Xiao lost consciousness. Is he going to die just like that? Xun Kailin, Gailin, father. At the last moment, the faces of some people flashed in Xiao mind. He mumbled a few words powerlessly before his eyes fell into endless darkness.